Everyone is looking good, and I'm feeling great. Before we get started, I just have to let you know that you get to decide. You get to decide to be the main character in your life or to play a supporting role to someone else in your life. You get to decide to be the victor or the victim in your life. As for me, I'm a champion. An advocate and the main character in my life. My name is Zara Northover, and I am a proud, unapologetic Black woman and a human being, if you couldn't tell. Born to Jamaican parents in America, who was fortunate enough to become a dual citizen and had the utmost honor of representing Jamaica in the 2008 Olympic Games in Beijing, China. But we're not here today to talk about all of my achievements and accolades. We're here to talk about, despite my achievements and accolades, I was not immune to racial discrimination and retaliation. Truth is that many that consider themselves of a protected class aren't either. So let me take you on a journey with me. I worked for an organization for 7 years, evolving into prominent roles, gained respect from leaders, as well as my peers. One day in February of 2021, I was told I was going to be meeting with the chief risk officer of the company to talk about the future of purchase. But that wasn't the case. I was ambushed. I virtually entered a room with 2 executives accusing me of creating noise. You know, the corporate way of saying causing problems. Imagine at that moment, you're a Black woman who's being racially discriminated and retaliated against because you stood up for others of a protected class. You were doing your job by providing insights to the company of things that were negatively impacting a specific race. Imagine then being threatened by the chief risk officer, Northover, if you continue down this path, it won't end well for you. All while the head of HR was there and did absolutely nothing about it. I immediately reached out to my direct HR and leader, who were not on the call, and said I was threatened. I needed answers and actions. I needed answers and actions. Those words still haunt me today. Workplace PTSD is a real thing. But if you think that was bad, how about 2 weeks later, I received a birthday card in the mail with a gorilla dressed up as a fortune teller, and inside the card read the words, "Zara, I see a great year in your future, or bananas. It's unclear. Happy birthday anyway." The thoughts that went through my mind, the tears, the disappointment, the psychological breakdown as I thought about how historically Black women are racially compared to gorillas as a sign of disrespect. But it was the faces of my friends and colleagues and family that validated every emotion that I was feeling. I couldn't imagine this was really happening to me. So I immediately reached out to my therapist because I was having panic attacks. My hair was falling out. I was stressed and filled with anxiety. You don't have the luxury of deciding to feel better before you can file a lawsuit or file a claim. There are time restrictions put in place for you to be able to reach out and do so. So I immediately thought to myself, what am I going to do? I had 2 choices before me. Was I going to go back to work and be like the oppressor and silence the situation and do absolutely nothing about this? Or was I going to be an advocate and have the courage to choose me? and stand up to injustices. A friend of mine gave me a piece of advice that sticks with me today. She said, whether you choose to say something or you don't choose to say something, this is going to mentally impact you for the rest of your life. But it was that Sunday I went to church, and there was a sign behind my pastor that said, "Bigger than me." I knew at that moment that I was going to be an advocate and a voice for the oppressed because I was worth the cost of justice. I stand here before you today, still in the midst of the storm. But I believe in turning lemons into lemonade. There are some hard days. There's exciting days, but there are even more hard days. But throughout this journey, I'm always learning and growing. I went from being an Olympian, standing on the world stage, to being a Black woman facing racial discrimination and retaliation at my job. But that didn't come without sacrifice, stress, anxiety, sacrifice of myself and those that love and support me. I stand before you today as a pro se litigant, representing myself in the Court of Appeals. My previous lawyer left me in a compromising situation when he withdrew from my case because I would not accept the terms of signing away my silence because I knew this was bigger than me. I didn't know all the right steps to take when I started this journey, but I'm here today sharing in real time because I believe that everyone needs to know that this is possible. Many are not able to afford an attorney. Those that are willing to take you on a contingency basis, they have long wait lists. In 2023, the EEOC, known as the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, received over 81,000 charges of workplace discrimination. That doesn't include individuals that went to other agencies, people that didn't know what to do, others that were afraid. If any one of you could relate to that, just know that you're not alone. The decision to file a lawsuit is a commitment that requires a mental toughness that many are not willing to do. You don't know if it's going to take months, years to find a resolution. You position yourself to lose or not gain employment because the internet makes it easy for everyone to see that you're in the midst of a lawsuit. I went through 5 rounds of interviews at this company. Everyone loved me, said I was great, all for me to get to the CEO at the end, and he looked at me with a distinct tone and said, "Northover, your former company is our biggest client. So clearly, I didn't get that job." I don't know about you, but no one ever sat me down before this experience and said, "This is what you do if you encounter racial discrimination and retaliation at your job." The virtual trainings that we watch or annual trainings that we go through every year don't go in depth about what the process is, how to protect yourself, and what to do. The only thing I was ever told was to go to HR if something bad happens at work. Raise your hand if you've heard that before. Well, to be honest, it's not necessarily the best first step. Talking to an employment lawyer can better prepare you of what documents you may need, the right things to say, how to properly express yourself when you go into an HR meeting. If I would have known all of that, I would have been better prepared for my situation. But I went back and forth with HR on my own, thinking that I was in good faith we were going to come up with a solution. Spoiler alert, that was not the case. In fact, at that moment, I've realized that HR saw me as the liability. They were there to protect the company, not me. So that leads to another known unknown. We know that to file a lawsuit, you should have a lawyer. You may not have a lawyer, but you should have a lawyer. And if you do have a lawyer, what's not common knowledge is to know what type of lawyer you should get, what questions you should be asking. To be honest, we should have an understanding of what is it that we want from this situation. What are our non-negotiables? We should ask the lawyer what employment matters they have litigated, settled, or lost. I know for me, my non-negotiable was my freedom of speech. My voice was not for sale. I knew that signing a non-disclosure agreement would honestly mentally affect me and my psyche for the rest of my life. Not being able to share my story as a speaker and my experiences that I utilize to empower and educate others, I was not willing to give that away. Because we all are worth the cost of justice. There were so many times that I heard there were individuals that went through the process, but they couldn't speak because they signed an NDA. Others were triggered, so I understand why they couldn't share. But the few that were able to share, I felt seen, I felt heard, I felt validated by every word they shared because I could relate in some way. And the more knowledge I was able to gain from them, the more confident and empowered I felt. By understanding my rights and not being afraid to ask for help, I was well positioned to run what I call the mental marathon for justice. Filing a lawsuit is like running a marathon, and sometimes you want to quit. But the key is to surround yourself with what I call pro se champions. Some of you are in this room today. Thank you. People that will support you mentally, physically, financially, emotionally, those that will answer the call when you just need somebody to listen. People that will pray for you, strategize with you, and have your back when things get tough. I leaned heavily on my faith. In fact, every day I kept telling myself, I have to keep moving in faith. Prayer and fasting helped me stay grounded when things felt overwhelming. And ultimately, it's the affirmations I said daily. You matter. Your voice matters. God qualifies the called, and this is bigger than me. Those simple but powerful phrases gave me strength when things got tough. And while mental health is so crucial, I was shocked and confused when the defendants requested my mental health records. They deposed my therapist and my psychiatrist. They went on to mandate that I see their therapists who specialize in criminal and child psychology. Why did I have to see them? I didn't send myself a racially charged card. I didn't threaten myself. So why did I have to go through a 5-hour psychological exam and be scrutinized? The safe space that was supposed to be safe wasn't safe anymore. But that's just it. The pursuit of justice isn't laced with grace or things that make sense. That's why it's so vital to have people around you that support you, that will motivate you through all of this. Courage isn't just about being brave in big moments. It's about standing up when you feel small, insignificant, invisible, tired, or alone. Harriet Tubman once said, "I'm going to prepare a place for you." She wasn't just thinking about herself. She was fighting for the future. And like her, I'm not just fighting for myself. I know that we are creating a space and clearing a path for those that come after us. That's why I filed the lawsuit. And when I get frustrated, I remind myself that I advocate to broaden the path for us all. Yes, I face discrimination and retaliation at my job. Yes, I was hurt. By showing up to the law library, by utilizing ChatGPT, by fact-checking with legal resources, watching legal tips on social media, occasional unreasonable doubt in suits, And tuning into Google University, I gave and continue to give myself a fighting chance. So as I await the next steps of my own legal battle, I want to leave you with this. Your voice, your story, and you all matter. Your fight matters. So the next time you see an injustice on the line at the supermarket, in the classroom, in the workplace, call it out with grace, because your feedback and allyship can make someone's day, possibly save their life. My hope is that we continue to have these conversations in school, at home, and in the workplace, so we're all better prepared to do what's right, because bias is everywhere. But when we're aware of that and we understand the basic steps to protect ourselves, then we won't get caught off guard, because we should be choosing to communicate our truth, share our knowledge, and hold people accountable. Because when we understand that we are stronger together, that's when we'll make way for peace. So repeat this after me. I am worth the cost of justice.
I am worth the cost of justice.
My voice matters.
My voice matters.
I am moving in faith.
I am moving in faith.
Thank you for standing on this journey with me. While someone's threat did come true, I am making the conscious decision that they don't write the end of my story, because even in the midst of the storm, I know that we are worth the cost of justice. Thank you.